All right, let's get
this going.
Yeah, exactly.
We will open up the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for City of Davenport Tuesday, August the 8th. Can I have a call of order, please?
Franken,
Here.
Miranda,
Here.
Powers,
Here.
Estetti,
Here.
Kretz,
Here.
McGivern.
Here. And takes us to the Secretary's report, the consideration of the July 11th, 2023 meeting minutes. Need a motion to accept or to modify?
Motion to accept the minutes as said.
Second. Motion to first and accept the minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Communications. Matt?
All right, we got a few topics under communications. So first is the second party in the park. So our second one for this summer. It's going to be this Thursday, August 10th at Garfield Park. So I know Laura and Michael will be manning our table for us for Historic Preservation Commission. Anyone else that's free that evening and wishes to attend the party in the park and stop by the HPC tent, greatly appreciated. So we'll have some stuff to pass out to the public there. That starts at 5:30. Also, just a reminder, the Heart of Downtown Davenport Architectural Walking Tour, free tour that's open to the public. We have a historian that the commission helped sponsor to lead a walking tour of our downtown. So still have 2 more dates ahead of us. So please encourage those to attend. And then thirdly, there's a porch party, which is held by the Butterworth Center and Dear Wyman House in Moline. That event is Sunday, September 17th from noon to 5 p.m. So we do have Jan Stouffer, hopefully I said that right, in attendance. She represents the Wyman House. So as part of that event, they're doing a historic preservation roundtable with the other communities in the Quad Cities. So she's here to just extend an invite to our commission and anyone that might want to participate.
Please come forward.
Hello, as Matt mentioned, I'm Jan Stouffer. I'm the Director of Operations and Administration at the Butterworth Center and Dear Wyman House, which is a long way of saying that I oversee all the historic preservation restoration efforts on both properties. And this year at the porch party, we will be having a preservation showcase at the Dear Wyman House, which will talk about and demonstrate some of the restoration efforts that we're putting forth at that, and we're investing in that property. One of those is a panel conversation with historic preservation commissioners. I'm trying to dispel the myths that HPCs are hard to work with and things you should be afraid of. So, and instead turn it to help our public recognize that commissioners are resources, they're valuable, and by having your property in a registry or a local landmark status is nothing to be afraid of. And there's no such thing as government overreach. So I do have Brandon Tidwell, who is City of Moline Historic Preservation Commissioner, sitting on the panel. Mark Stouffer Hunter, who has served on Cedar Rapids Historic Preservation panel, has been a contractor working with HPCs as well as a property owner in the historic district, so he can kind of hit a real broad net. And it would be wonderful to have somebody from the Iowa side who can sit on that panel and talk about how things work in the state of Iowa, because we do attract an audience from both sides of the river. So if one of you would like to be available to answer questions, make comments about what it is to work with the Davenport HPC, I would very much appreciate it. And you can talk to me after the meeting or ask me questions now if that would be better.
We'll make sure you have somebody.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matt?
Yep, and then lastly, under communications, resurveying the West 3rd Street National Historic District. So staff was able to get $20,000 earmarked in the city budget towards this project. So as part of that, we're going to try to figure out and navigate the best approach towards identifying the scope of work, potential grant opportunities to see if we can maximize that scope of services. And later this year, we're looking at doing a request for proposals, trying to get a historic consultant to help us with this project. So Laura and I are going to kind of explore and navigate how that process might work, and we'll keep the commission informed as we move along.
As a refresher, this will be the first resurvey of an existing district in decades, correct?
So they,
Besides,
we did the Homburg one, and that finished, I think, in 2017. It took a while to get through it because it was so many properties. I've been doing research, this contract was signed in 2014 for that. It took a couple of years to get through.
does commissioners have any questions for staff?
Yeah, one question on this. Could you tell me, enlighten me, which are the north-south streets to the east and west of that West Third? What is included?
So it is West 3rd Street. So to the north is 4th, and to the south is 2nd. So this is our western edge of downtown.
Yeah,
We can check on the
But the
east-west
east and
boundaries.
west, I'm just wondering what the boundaries are, which
Oh.
streets are running.
Yeah, I will,
I believe it's Ripley Street.
yeah, I'm not
On
sure
the
exactly
east.
how far over it goes, but we will get that information for you.
Would it go beyond Gaines?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. That will take us to old business. We have none, so that will take us to new business. Case number COA 23-24, restoration of the gazebo at 1234 East River Drive. The Ebner Davidson House is a locally listed historic landmark. Quad City Restoration's petitioner. Staff?
All right, so the Abner Davison House, built in the late 1850s. The original home is a Tuscan Italianate architectural style. And then there was an addition done in the early 1900s that's more of a prairie style of architecture on the western portion of the building. In that photo, you could also see a historic Victorian gazebo, which will be the subject of today's application. So the original property owner, he was a leading lawyer in Davenport. Previous uses of this building, it was formerly the Gildas Club House up until 2020 when it was sold to the current property owner. So it is now a single-family residence that is being restored. So today's application is to restore the historic gazebo, which the historic property inventory sheet lists as the last remaining Victorian element on this property. So it's located just to the south of the home, overlooking the Mississippi River up there on the top of the hill. And that photo is from 1986 on the left. So in terms of project scope, this is a restoration project. So items include removing the asphalt shingle roof, reframing the deteriorated wood structure of the roof with new wood material, replacing roof shingles with a architectural shingle that would match the slate roof that was installed on the home back in 2022, to rebuild missing portions of the structure with similar like materials, to reproduce decorative features such as the flowers and face by casting a replica of the existing features. And then the existing ironwork has been inspected and deemed in good condition, so that would be salvaged and reused. So in terms of the gazebo roof, so it's currently a red asphalt shingle roof, so that matched the house that had the red roof before the slate was approved just last year. So replacement product, it's also an asphalt shingle, so it's Owens Corning 50-year true definition duration black architectural shingle. So again, yeah, replacement color will match that of the house, so you have consistency. And then that aerial photo on the top right, that shows what the new slate roof looks like today. So that's a relatively new air photo. So reframing the gazebo, so these are some photos of the current condition. So you could see that there's deteriorated wood. So the applicant would reframe that structure with wood material to provide that structural support for the new roof. So here are a few more photos, just kind of detailing or outlining, some of that deterioration of the wood, some of the splitting that's occurred over time. So that'll get reframed for the new structure. And then the gazebo has several different decorative features. So one is there's a female figurine at the top of each column on the gazebo. So there's some that are still intact. Those are going to be taken off, and they're going to cast a replica of that feature and then install it where it's missing on the outside of the gazebo. And then along that same vein, there's these decorative floral features over the arches of the gazebo. So the ones that are in good condition, they'll cast replicas of those and then mount them where they're missing or where they're deteriorated. So it should match the overall dimension, style, and character of that historic element. So city staff is recommending approval of the certificate of appropriateness to restore the gazebo in accordance with the submitted material. So it was reviewed for conformance with the historic preservation ordinance and meets the following criteria. So they make every effort to make a minimal number of changes to keep the property in good state of repair, and that deteriorated features should where possible be repaired rather than replaced. When replaced, they should match old and design color, texture, and other visual qualities.
Okay. Commission, do we have any questions for staff? Recommendation? Got a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation. Roll call, please.
Miranda,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Hostetti,
Yes.
Kretz,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Franken.
Yes.
Okay. This will take us to item number B, case number COA 23-25, removal of rooftop, excuse me, removal of a rooftop cellular equipment at 102 East 3rd Street. Hotel Mississippi is a locally listed historic landmark with the Davenport Community Historic District. Qualtech Wireless is the petitioner. Staff?
All right, so Hotel Mississippi was built in 1931. It's a 10-story structure, so its original use, it had 200 hotel rooms, and then first floor retail. I believe Walgreens was the first tenant that occupied that corner of Brady Street and 3rd. Since, over the course of its history, it currently has been converted into apartments. That happened in the mid-1980s. The hotel's also connected to the Adler Theater for context. So in terms of project scope, there is cellular equipment mounted to the rooftop of the structure. You can slightly see it from that photo on the right. So there is some visibility from ground level, although minor. So the applicant's proposing to remove all the Sprint rooftop cellular equipment. So that includes the antennas, cables, cable trays, radio, platforms, frames, cabinets, jumpers, and any other associated equipment with that wireless communication equipment. And then following the removal, they will repair the roof to make sure that the roof is kept in good condition and that no damage or water damage occurs from that removal. So you can see on this slide, the equipment's mounted at the corner of Brady Street and 3rd. Pretty concise at that one location on that street corner. So I'll just flip through. You can see a few photos where it is visible. So this kind of details what the equipment looks like from up top on the roof. You can see the different cabinets and equipments and cables that flow to make that equipment operate. So this will all be taken down as part of the project scope.
Okay.
So with that, staff's recommending approval of the certificate of appropriateness as presented, and it complies with our historic preservation ordinance, which keeps the property in a good state of repair and has minimal impact to the overall historic character of the structure.
All right. Any questions from the commission?
I had one question. I read through the materials, and as always, I really appreciate the work you do in providing extensive amounts of material on these. So the people requesting this actually are not the owners of the building. They're the communications people, is that correct?
Correct. So the applicant is the company that will be removing the equipment. So they're applying on behalf of the owners.
And so, okay, on behalf of the owners, but they're doing it. And the point that we are involved in is making sure that the building is maintained, watertight, that sort of thing. Returning the roof to what it had been before they installed that material.
Correct. So it's overall visual appearance of the project and then keeping the property in good state of repair.
Okay. So this is probably not a good time to have any other questions about the building itself. Is that correct? Other issues that the building may be facing?
So at this time, we're reviewing the project scope at hand. So I guess if
you
there's
want to
another
have a
item.
conversation, we can talk after the meeting. We can-
Okay, sounds fair. Thank you.
You good? Any other questions from the commission? I need a recommendation.
I move approval of the recommendation.
I got a motion and a second to approve as presented by staff. Roll call, please.
Powers,
Yes.
Hastedi,
Yes.
Kretz,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Franken,
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
All righty, thank you. And we have no other business. That takes us to other business, which is review of the commission bylaws. Matt?
All right, so based on the conversation and direction from last month's meeting, staff has revised the bylaws, so we're just going to kind of break it down one component at a time. So first, I'd like to talk on, part of our conversation was voting. So we talked about different voting options. So before you is the draft bylaws, and then I've highlighted the sections that I've edited from last meeting. So in terms of voting, we talked about commissioners, you have the option to vote yes, no, present, which has the effect of a no vote, or to abstain from a vote. And so the language that I've included in here is commissioners have the option to vote yes, no, present, or abstain. A vote of present will have the effect of a no vote. Commissioner may abstain from a vote if the commissioner believes there is a conflict of interest as provided in section 7. So we've consulted with the legal department too. If the commission would like to eliminate the option of voting present, you can do so in the bylaws, so I can delete that sentence on present.
Did legal have any weight or feedback on this at all?
They strongly suggest not using present as a voting mechanism. It is an option, but because it has the effect of a no, that it's their suggestion to not utilize that as a voting option.
Okay.
So is there
Yeah.
direction from the commission on whether or not we want to leave present in? Otherwise, I could strike any reference to the voting present.
Would you want to summarize everything and then we can just go through
Okay.
issue, because it's like maybe we try to get this thing finalized, we can vote on it
Okay.
maybe next time or the
Sure.
time after, and get this thing finished up.
Okay, so next discussion, term limits. So we consulted with the legal department. So we can't impose term limits on serving on the commission, but what they said is that you can impose term limits in terms of the position of chair and vice chair. So currently, they're 1-year terms. So if you'd like to impose a limit on that, or if you'd like to do an option of you can't serve more than so many consecutive terms in a row, that's the discretion of the commission to decide as a group.
Yeah, so the reason you can't do term limits for the overall commission is because that's by ordinance, that's controlled by council. But term limits might be a good option for you. In a different role in my life, I was staff to the Rock Island County Waste Management Agency. They had, you couldn't serve more than 2 consecutive terms in a row in any of the positions. So doesn't mean you can't become, chair can't become vice chair and vice versa, but it at least gets somebody in a different seat.
Interesting. Okay.
Another topic of conversation, which I have titled duplication of code sections and bylaws. So what that references is we had discussion on the eligibility requirements on the commission. So that being, wanting people to serve that have background in, for instance, architecture or contracting work or history. So that's already in our zoning code, so we don't want to put that in the bylaws. And that could get us into a situation that we're in now, where the ordinance might change, but the bylaws don't change with it. So we just want to keep everything uniform.
Okay.
So they advise against duplicating any code section within the bylaws. And then finally, which I think will be most of our conversation, will be the election term of office. So this section was completely rewritten, which I hope addresses some of the concern and conversation that we had. So basically the way that it now reads is the commission at the first regular meeting of the calendar year, which we can discuss what month we want to go with, shall elect to office from its membership a chairperson and vice chairperson, each to hold office for 1 year. Both chairperson and vice chairperson shall be eligible for re-election. Election of chair and vice chair shall be by a separate ballot vote. So we did get direction that you can do a ballot vote. The commission shall first elect a chairperson, then a vice chair. A commissioner can only hold 1 position at a time. Then in terms of nominations, this is new from last month. Nominations will be held the meeting prior to the election. Commissioners may nominate themselves or another commissioner. Nominees may submit a written statement to the commission secretary expressing their qualifications and interests of an office, which will be included in the next meeting packet.
Any thoughts?
Much of what you've done, I think I sent this in an email as well, covers the concerns that I had. And you did it much more eloquently and expeditiously than I did when I was putting a draft together. I was following the Robert's Rules of Order, which, if you've looked at it, is heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. So this is really quite succinct. My concern was, because I came on kind of late, suddenly there was an election and I had no clue what was going on. This way, we will have, at some point, nominations made, and then the following meeting will there be the opportunity for the actual election. Beautiful, that works well. As to when we set that up, whether it's the very first regular meeting of the calendar year or we push it back a little later, I'm fine with whatever the other members think would be best, because you've served a lot longer than I have. But I do thank you for doing a really good job, I think, of putting this together.
Any other comments? Well, let's give staff some direction then, because it looks like from the markup map that you provided us, we need to give some direction on the Section A, or Section 1A.
I'm all for striking present.
Okay,
That's just my opinion.
okay, that was my only concern as well.
Okay, so I think if we have consensus, what I'll do is I'll eliminate the option vote present, and then I'll eliminate the sentence a vote of present will have the effect of a no vote. I'll just strike that out. So it's not even referenced in the bylaws.
I think the nomination process, does anyone have any questions about that or any input? It's new, I realize that, but is that kind of the process as summarized? Does that address the concerns?
I guess my only concern is, again, December, we usually don't meet. So if we come right back into a vote on January, we're going to be kind of cold.
So I know that would be an issue. So there's two options. One would be whether we have any other business, we could still meet to do nominations. That's one option. The other option is that, and I look to you as for direction on this, if there is no other business and the commission would prefer not to meet over nominations, we could push the nominations to January and then vote in February.
I think that sounds great. I'm fine with that.
So just for clarity, do you still want the January as the preferred election month or push it all back? So nominations January, elections February?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm okay. Is everybody else okay?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
okay.
So, and then the nomination process itself, being prior to, if you want to submit your name, everyone's good with that. So what does that puts us to,
But you don't have to submit your name. I mean, the point is the meeting in January, anybody that wants to run, lets everybody know. That's the main thing.
Yep, and then we'll have pre-created ballots for the next meeting that we'll hand out.
so it's the only other issue is the term limits, which legal said that we probably shouldn't do. Is that what you said?
So term limits to serve on the commission is a no, but term limits for a chair or a vice chair is at the
That's an
discretion
option.
of the commission to choose.
So we have a 3-year obligation as a commissioner. So if somebody wants to stay on it for 10 years, they can, or 20 years, or,
I mean, that's between you and the mayor at the time in
Okay.
terms of how they want to handle that. There are commissions that have had people for 20 years on them. So yeah, it's, that part is at city council level, but if you do want some, to kind of have some changeover in terms of leadership as chair, vice chair, that would be where you could do, no more than 2 or 3 consecutive years as chair or something along those lines.
I would like the commission to think about some kind of structure like that, because what's happened in the past is, one person said, I'll just do it, and then it could get very, very lethargic, or it could get one directional, and that's not necessarily a good idea from my perspective. And so I don't know what the number is. Change is always good, and sometimes forced change is even better. So, something to think about. I don't know what the number is, or we give Matt some direction between now and the next 2 weeks, or what you would like to do. But I think, somebody, vice chair or chair, if you're there for more than 2, no more than 3 years, that's more than enough, in my opinion. So,
Diane, you had said at one time you thought maybe there should be 2-year terms for officers.
I think 2 years is perfect.
So 2 consecutive years.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, that, then they take a break or switch to the other vice chair or
Yeah.
whatever. And then maybe, again, they would have the option later.
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure I understand. We can integrate that in for you to review.
Perfect. Is there anything else?
Just a question, going back to nominations. It says they will be made the meeting prior. Commissioners may nominate themselves or another commissioner. Are these written nominations? Are these voice nominations?
They
How
would-
is that handled in other commissions?
They're normally voice.
Okay, so at that meeting, we'll sit here and I'll nominate X.
Yeah,
And X then has the opportunity to say, I really don't want it.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, you can decline to be nominated.
All right.
That has happened on other boards or commissions.
Very good.
And we were reading in Robert's Rules of Order, and you do not need a second for for nominations.
Interesting. Perfect. Okay.
And then if you want to provide like a written bio about yourself or anything, for a new commissioner that might not know you, send that to city staff, and then we'll include that with the next meeting packet, so that way everyone can read the same information.
Yeah, but we're not going to make that mandatory. And that, because I don't want to, if something is not sent to us and then I don't want it to be our judgment to disqualify you as nominated because we didn't receive something in writing. So it's optional to do it. We will disseminate that if you choose to write it.
Perfect. I think it's a great idea. All right, any other questions? Perfect. Well, then,
So
we're just going to assume that this will be an action item for next meeting and that you'll provide within 10 days prior to the meeting or so, just the final copy so we can all review it, make sure we're good with it, and hopefully we can finalize that.
Yep, so hopefully I'll make the changes, and then for the next meeting, you'll have a final draft to vote on.
Perfect. All right. Perfect. Anything else from the commission? All right, that takes us to an open forum for comment. Anyone from the public that would like to speak to the commission?
So I have not been to one of these meetings before.
Please come up to the podium, please. And just introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Just leave
It'll
me
be
what I need to
painless, I
do.
promise.
So I have not done this before. So my name is Susan Yarlum. I live on 17th Street in Davenport. And we recently found out some things about what was going on in our neighborhood, that I have some notes that I saw that you guys must have talked about it in your July 18th meeting regarding Johnson School.
That would be the Plan and Zone Commission.
Yep. So
Okay, but this is part of the Historical Society, correct?
it's two separate bodies, so any future construction or work would be reviewed by the commission. But the Plan and Zone Commission is responsible for reviewing subdivisions.
Okay, but if this is the Historical Society, can I remind them that it's a historical?
Absolutely.
You sure
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
It's public comment. Tell
Okay,
us
thank you
everything.
for your time, because
Yep.
we have a neighborhood that is very, very upset at the moment. I'm not gonna be emotional, but I have lived at this property for 23 years. And we just found out that Johnson School was sold to a realtor in 2004. When Johnson School closed, we moved to that area because of Johnson School. We moved there in 2000, October of 2000. A couple years later, then Johnson School closed. We were very saddened about this. The neighborhood met. And as you know, being part of the historical commission, that we fought for that property to be turned into a historical landmark. Not just the building, but the block. And it passed. And now, behind any of our backs or any knowledge, the new realtor, or the realtor that bought this property, is now trying to change the land and make it the land portion of that block, building houses, or someone at the Massage Institute stated that he was also considering an apartment complex. As you can know, our neighborhood is astonished by this because we fought hard to keep the nature, beauty of the area and to how it is to be remained this way. That portion of the area and that land is very important to all of us because it's a safety place for kids. It defines our area, just as the Village of East Davenport, their historical area defines their area. This kind of defines our neighborhood to the core of what Central Davenport is. We don't want to see homes being built. We don't want to see the historical portion of this block being turned over. And we please want you to take under extreme consideration to honor the wishes that we did and we fought for back in 2004 to keep this property in this neighborhood sacred to us. It's a safe place for children to be able to play. People use it for massage therapy for the people that are tenants in that building, whether it's the yoga or whether it's a dance studio. Softball teams, football teams go there and practice. Again, it's a safe area. And bringing new homes, or especially an apartment complex, into a historical area, our historical area of this neighborhood, again, we're outraged. So again, we are begging you to please hold this block, the historical sanctuary that we think it is, as is, and don't let them build. So hopefully you will take that under consideration. And if you would like to do some private meetings too, we would love to speak to you on a one-on-one basis also.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down.
Anyone else from the public? See one, I need a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second?
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.